We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Jordyn Brooks, Miami Dolphins linebacker, taking a look at his full season, breaking down how well, his good and bad plays throughout the season. I wanted to, really go back instead of, move past that Packers game and see how these players that I think will help us out for the future have played, because I think Jordyn Brooks at that off-ball linebacker position has clearly been your best guy, and he's the one that I think will stick around in that group compared to next year. At least that one will see real playing time. I would like to pair another linebacker with him, but I just think he's a quality, good player, not elite. Like, he has some inconsistencies, but you're going to struggle to find guys with his level of athleticism, range, that can play in coverage, do some good instinctive things versus the run, can blitz, get after the passer. Well, we're going to break down all of this into little details, the level of bend he can play with. I would say there was a couple games this season where I thought he struggled, but for the most part, he's been pretty solid. And I think age plays an important part because the defense is pretty old, but he's still pretty young, relatively cheap. He's just the type of guy that you want in your roster in that area. Just number 20 was making plays throughout the season for you, and constantly, being the guy that's making most of the tackles out there, making plays at different levels of the field. And he's one that I like for keeping around for the future seasons when you consider all the little things that play into it. And you have to fill out your roster with different levels of players, and I think Brooks is a quality linebacker to have. If you can try to pair him with an even better one, that would help out the group a lot. But yeah, we'll kind of break this down. One of my favorite plays in coverage from him, he's bailing out. He's to the hook, strong hook defender here. He opens up his hips, and when he opens up his hips there, now he's able to get back to square, gain depth. Look at him gain depth. Kind of, baits this throw, understands they might try to attack the seams, reading the QB's eyes. He's able to flip his hips back the other way and then get in the throwing lane and make a play on the ball at the catch point. If he can do this a little more consistently, because I think his coverage has just been slightly inconsistent throughout the year, but that's how it is for most linebackers. You have to compare it to other players in the league, and I still think he does this above average compared to most. But the inconsistency keeps him from, reaching a higher level. But that's just a super high level play. You can see the range and run support. Look at him on the backside of this run. Look how explosive he is. If he's able to get in unblocked, he makes some good plays avoiding blocks. But this time, he's just beating the blocks to the point of attack. This guy has no chance of cutting him off. Identify, lead, outside zone, feel the flow of this play, and look at him just take a great angle, cover so much ground, and then help make that tackle for loss. Those are the types of things, I like to see out of him. He can play as a weak side linebacker. One of the, I don't love, really, if you look at the roster construction, I don't know if the Dolphins are in the best spot future-wise. That's why they have to hit on draft picks. So that's why, with some of these players that are on your team right now, you got to be able to evaluate and see who you're moving on from and who you're going to keep. And Brooks is one of the players that I think you keep, because he's, on the cheaper side. Hard to find good veteran players that are also relatively young, and he plays hard. I feel like he's one of the guys on the team that gives a 100% effort all the time out there. He called out the team for being soft versus Green Bay. Here's just a good play, good identifying the motion here across, and then key the pulling guard so he's staying square, shuffling, working through, make sure he can fit into the run where he becomes a new responsible. He's just staying square. Now identifying, processing through all this trash. And then this tight end who's trying to block him, he takes him on, squares him up, stack, shed, while still staying square, working down the line of scrimmage laterally. This is just perfect linebacker play versus the run, versus a gap scheme, them working some power up there. Very high-level work for Jordyn Brooks. That's the plays that you want to see on a consistent basis. And these are things you love. You see him do that, which is a very good linebacker play versus the run. You see him, after the quarterback, and you see him in coverage here, Dolphins running quarters down in the red zone. Bills do a great job of getting him isolated on a receiver. Curtis Samuel out of the backfield. They get him isolated, and Brooks is able to open it. He has so much space to cover here. He's thinking he can break outside, he can break inside, he can work deep. He ends up working deep, and Brooks has to just open up his hips, get in the hip pocket, turn his head around, make a play at the catch point. This is not normal for most linebackers to make that play. So the fact that he's capable of doing this makes you feel pretty good about him out there in those situations. And then able to just get downhill, block avoidance. I think he just showed great feel, especially in this Rams game. Great feel for when this center's left uncovered, so no D lineman there to take him on initially. So he has to avoid him. Boom, feel the flow of that, rip underneath. He has such a good feel for this type of thing, to a block avoidance, and then still get control of his gap responsibility and then help make that tackle at the line of scrimmage on Kyren Williams. Very, very good stuff for Jordyn Brooks. Just continuously feel anticipation. Like here, he anticipates like where this is going. Like they're motioning this guy across. He's working through like their duo here. This guy's going to climb to him. He feels what's going to happen. Like he's working down the double team. And he understands like this guy's going to try to double and then climb. But since Phillips is knifing to the inside, he knows he has to get to the outside here and get control of this gap. He's able to anticipate that, work a club, arm over there, and then still get there in the backfield and help make that tackle at the line of scrimmage. This is just beautiful, beautiful work. Very, very clean from Brooks. Willing to take on stuff like Evan Ingram tries to throw a shoulder into him week 1, and Brooks is like, I'm just going to throw my body, but Evan Ingram did not want any of that, and then Brooks just fills in, makes a tackle at the line of scrimmage. So just good stuff out of Brooks constantly. He gets after it. Here's his sack versus the Titans. They kind of like leave him unblocked, but he's been a pretty good factor when left as a blitzer. He's got great closing speed. He plays with, a nice tenacity, gets downhill in a hurry, love the aggressiveness, and takes good angles to the quarterback too. I think he's one of the better guys when left unblocked finishing in that type of a situation. And then we got Brooks here. Long arms also help him a lot with like stacking and shedding. But look at him just work through this trash. One, he reads the pulling guard. So you read that pulling guard, understand where this block's going to go, and he understands like this is going to get led up into here. This is his key. He keys that. Like he knows he can have responsibility for the backside, but now he just stays in phase with the running back. Like you want to stay one step behind him on the backside. Now he's just staying in phase, working over the top, scraping, staying square, and then fills in right into the hole with the running back and helps make that tackle for a limited gain. And doing that from his pre-snap alignment, this is just great processing from him as a player, and that stuff is good. Here he gets a nice tackle for loss on a fumbled snap. Great closing speed, good tackle. But look at his bend here. Look at him dip underneath. One, you should not be able to play with this level of bend. Like he rips underneath, low body bend, very, very explosive. And then out of this like bend and contortion of his body, look at him explode past it and then close on Stafford, give him no chance to like throw it away or anything. That is special level of like lower body flexion and then the burst to finish. Really like that out of Brooks. Another great feel for the flow of these plays. They down block, pull a guard. Also the tight end going through. So, some G tight end action. He feels the flow. Reads his keys. Square over the top. Meets the tight end at the point of attack. And then also avoids the block and makes that tackle. Beautiful, beautiful work. These plays have shown up quite a bit on his film. And then here's, first play of the negatives. We have some negatives in here as well. He gets put in a tough spot. They asked him to drop into Tampa 2. He's made some good plays here. But then this is like, where he gets kind of beat week 1 in a tough spot, asking to cover this much ground. They haven't asked their linebackers to do this as much as the year has gone on. But he has to, locate whoever becomes the new number 2, tries to carry it, just takes a poor angle, misses that tackle. Good work by the receiver. But that's just like kind of the area. Sometimes I think he can, when he has to open up his hips and carry, and it's a tough ask out of your linebacker, but that's just kind of the situation I think that can happen to him from time to time. Good block avoidance here again, just 74. Uncovered, climbs to him at the second level, and look how quickly he beats this block without moving too much, because sometimes guys will avoid a block, but they'll wash themselves out of the play. He avoids the block by dipping that shoulder, throwing it underneath, and then still getting back to where he was, like on his landmark, squaring up, and then making that tackle for just a limited gain. Because this is they have a light box here. There's really only they motion out the linebacker. They basically get 5-on-5 blocking initially. And if Brooks doesn't make that play and, he gets a little bit of help from Benito Jones making some good stuff, this Packer game wasn't good, but I will say the D-line, I would say Jordyn Brooks actually did a fairly good job versus the run specifically. Other scenarios wasn't the best, but they actually did a decent job versus the run. And here's just anticipation. He's just feeling this the whole way. He's reading the cutback. He knows this guy's trying to cut him off, but he can feel this flow. He's anticipating the whole way. Look at him. He's guessing that this is going to be a cutback just based on the leverage, and he makes that tackle at the line. Just really good job. Staying square, avoiding the block. I think he does a good job on the backside of these plays as well. He's responsible for Richardson on the boot. Sees it. They leave him in space with him because he is one of the better, I think, in-space players. He'll miss some tackles too, but Dolphins missed so many tackles last week. But I think the difference is he's got better athleticism than the other linebackers in that room, and he's got longer arms, which also help with wrapping up, that type of thing. He's definitely one of your better open field tacklers. Here they try to work the jet sweep to Brock Bowers. He's just got good sideline to sideline range, takes a good angle, helps wrap up Bowers, finish that tackle for loss. Just really, really quality work working through the whole trash. Very, very nice. Definitely one of the guys, when you look at the roster as a whole, like the guys that I feel confident, like these three right here, Brooks, Chop, Sealer, those are kind of the guys you're looking to build around next year and still have around that are still like, Sealer is getting older, but he's on a nice contract. Still obviously a good player. You're trying to build around him. Everyone else at this point, in my opinion, is kind of a question mark. Like you're still going to have Ramsey, but he's also getting older. The rest of the linebacker room, I don't know. The rest of the D-line room, Calais has been very good, but he's old. All the other ones are free agents. Same with like Ogba. The safety room might be literally all gone. But Brooks just making plays versus the screen. He's responsible for him man-to-man. Identifies as a screen and looking close ground. Because he's floating over here because he's man-to-man on Brooks. He sees this. Now he peeks to the inside, sees that the O-linemen are working out to him in space. So once he sees that it's a screen, he's like, oh, I got to close now. And then boom, instantly gets downhill and makes that tackle for loss before they can even get out there. And then Brooks doing some good things. I thought this was his best game in coverage on field was versus the Colts. One, communication. He communicates to his other linebacker. This guy's crossing to him, but then opens back up his hips to get in the throwing lane of the dig behind it. Just understanding route concepts, what offenses are trying to do. If this ball is thrown to where like the receiver is, it's probably a pick. But since he sees the linebacker get in the way, Richardson throws it behind. Brooks almost comes down with that interception there. Here's one where Brooks gets isolated versus Brock Bowers and gets absolutely smoked in coverage. I mean, it's a tough ask. I already think Bowers is like a top. He might even be. He's one of the best tight ends in football, especially as a route runner, and he absolutely cooks Brooks. Now, to be fair, I think Bowers would cook most linebackers in this situation, but this is just like where I think he can be mismatched against and have some losing battles. Like he'll have better reps than that too, but that's just like one of the areas I think you don't want to isolate him too much in those situations. But then again, like in zone, he's getting hands on the receiver, passing this off down the field, gets his eyes to find the number 2 working in, from the tight end from the crossing from the opposite side of the field, working into his zone, playing top down, leveraging multiple routes, and then close and find this, and then just make like a nice open field tackle on Bowers. So those are the plays that I wanted to break down. I feel nice about Jordyn Brooks overall as a player. He's had some struggle parts of the season, but I don't think he's gotten as much recognition by the fan base as he should. Out of the free agent pickups, he's been one of the good ones as well. There have been bad ones, like Jordan Poyer has been bad. Fuller hasn't been as good as expected. He hasn't been bad, but he's out with injury. He's one that maybe hasn't lived up. But I would put Brooks up there, like with the Jonus and the Calais Campbell signings, and the rest of the solid ones like that. But yeah, so shout out Jordyn Brooks, one guy that I want to see stick around. Keep an eye out for the rest of the vids this week. I'm going to keep going through full season breakdowns on players, how they performed, do some good ones, some bad ones. I also think I'm going to do a video on the run game pretty soon as well. Check out that, like why the Miami's run game has been struggling and why that needs to be fixed if they need to have a chance to make it. They need to win out to make it, and even if they win out, it's not a guarantee that they make it. So the schedule's fairly easy. I do imagine they win the Jets game. I still, I wouldn't put money on them making the playoffs. I personally actually think they probably finish. I think they're going to finish the season 4-1. That's my guess, and then go 9-8 and not make the playoffs. Hopefully, that's not the case because that's probably worst case scenario for you, because it just means heartbreak and you're as close away with the worst pick as possible and still didn't make the playoffs. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.